Hello friends, and welcome to another book review. My name is Minka, and today we're going to be reviewing the second book in the Grisha trilogy, which is Siege and Storm. So this is going to be a spoiler review just because this book has been out since like 2013. But if you also want a non-spoiler review, let me know down in the comments below, and I can also do a non-spoiler review. So with that being said, let's get to the review. So what I'm going to do in this review is I'm going to go over the main synopsis. I'm going to go over the main characters. I'll go over the OMG plot twisty moments. I'll go over things I liked, things I didn't like, my predictions for the next book, and then my overall thoughts. All right, so with that being said, let's get to the synopsis. So this book starts off exactly where the last one ended off. Alina and Mal are on the run. They reach Navyi Zem, and then while they're there, they get captured by the Darkling, dun dun dun, obviously, and he takes them back on a privateer named Strumhan's ship. Over there, he tells them that there is another amplifier, which completely goes against everything that Alina knows about Grisha theory, and he wants to find the second amplifier and put that on Alina. So in order to track the second amplifier, he needs Mal, so that's what he's going to use Mal for, and the second amplifier is known as the Sea Whip. So then they find the second amplifier and they capture it, and then Strumhand and his crew have this whole like mutiny and everything planned, and they end up taking Alina and Mal, but the Darkling puts up a fight. At this point, he sends out these like shadow monsters that he's just able to create, which is like really weird and scary. Like these things were actually pretty terrifying, and he was really strong, but they are able to escape that, and then they thankfully are able to keep going. But Strumhan tells them that he has another higher bidder back in Ravka that wants Alina and Mal alive. So that's why he's taking them, and that's why he's gonna go back to Ravka with them. So Alina and Mal then both kill the Sea Whip, and then she makes a second amplifier, which is also known as a fetter, around her wrist. And at this point, that power that surges through her really starts to kind of grow on her, and she starts to become a little bit more power hungry just because of all that power that's rushing through her, and she really craves more. So then Strumhan takes her back to Os Alta, and over here it is revealed that he is actually Nikolai Lantsov, who is the second prince of Ravka. And so his main plan was to basically bring Alina back because he wants to take the throne so that he can help his people. And the reason he brought Alina back was more of a political move because a lot of people are now seeing her as like a saint figure. And so he kind of sees if he has her by his side, then the people will follow him and he'll be able to take the throne as well as to help protect his people. She agrees to go with him. He initially proposes a marriage between them, but she's like, no, bro, I'm not doing that. And she says, I'll go with you, I'll stand with you, but I want control of the Second Army. And remember, this is something that the Darkling had control of, and he's not there anymore. So she's kind of taking his spot and taking control of the Second Army. And he agrees to this. And then, you know, a little bit more struggles happen. Like she initially goes to a meeting with the remaining Grisha that are there. They kind of don't really want her to be their leader. She wants to unite all of the Grisha together so that they can be a better unit and fight better together when they will face the Darkling eventually. And she also wants them to bond together with the First Army so that they're a better match when the Darkling does eventually come to take Os Alta. And then a lot of just like nothing happens. Alina and Mal start to slowly drift apart. Alina and Nikolai start to have like a real good connection and a good friendship, even though he kind of has a thing for her. But they have really good chemistry in this book and they start to develop a friendship. She also sees the Darkling a bunch of times in the palace, but since nobody else can see her, she just assumes that she's hallucinating. Nikolai and Alina are like a really good team together, and they're planning to take the fight to the Darkling rather than have him ambush them. So they have like a whole plan ready. Nikolai's developing all these weapons and everything. So everything's going good until Prince Vasily, aka Prince Dumbass, allows the Darkling to basically come in undetected, and then there's this final battle, which was actually pretty terrifying to read because everything was going wrong for our side, and it was just really hard to read. And then at the very end of it, you know, they're about to all get killed, and then Alina makes her selfless sacrifice. She ends up going to the Darkling and kind of tricking him into thinking that she's gonna go with him. But what she actually ends up doing is using the connection that they have via the amplifiers to actually pull out those shadow monsters out of him. Because each shadow monster that he pulls out really does take a lot of energy out of him. And in this process, she is ready to kill him and also kill herself in the process because they are connected. So if he dies, so does she. And this part, I was like, oh my God, like what's gonna happen here? Because there's a third book. Are we gonna kill Alina and the Darkling both here? Like, what's gonna happen? But obviously, that's not what happened. And Mal steps in last minute, and he takes Alina, and she passes out, and then they go underground. And then when Alina wakes up, she realizes she's underground. The apparat has this like whole thing called the White Cathedral, which is this underground, basically like palace cathedral looking like thing. And he has a bunch of people who are the Sun Summoner, Sun Saint followers. And there's a lot of those people. And he basically has his own cult. And he has her there. She's being taken care of. All the other Grisha that were in the palace and that actually survived are with her. And then she makes a discovery, which completely came out of left field, is that she doesn't have her powers anymore. And then that's how that book ends. So I gotta be honest with you guys, like when I first started reading it, like the first chapter, it was like action, action, action. It was getting really good and I was like, okay, this book is already so much better than the first. And then we got to like the whole mid section and I didn't hate it because there's a lot of just like small like build up and like political things that were happening, which aren't the worst things, but it just kind of felt like you need to throw a little bit of action in there. You know what I mean? It felt like action, all politics, action. Whereas if you want a more engaging story, in my opinion, you should split that up. Have action, a little bit of political stuff, some more action, a little bit more political stuff, some more. You know how it's all sprinkled out in the book, so it doesn't feel like section, 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 but more of a cohesive story. That's how I felt. However, the plot itself I thought was really good because I had no idea where this was gonna go. Like they were on the run, so I'm like, well, obviously they have to get captured at some point. So I thought it was a really smart way to take the story forward. You know, she gets captured, but then the prince comes, he saves her, and then they themselves are working to kill the Darkling, and they're kind of trying to bring everyone together and make a whole cohesive unit. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. The ending, heart was in my throat reading that, so I actually really did like it. So overall, the plot was all right. There were some boringish parts, but overall, I did like the way the story went and how it did turn out at the end. Now we're gonna go over the different characters that were in this book. So I'm gonna go over 3 characters, and they are Alina, Mal, and Nikolai. Just because they're the more prominent characters in this book and everyone else is kind of taking a back seat. So those are the 3 I'm going to talk about. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Alina. So I actually really liked Alina a lot more in this book. Like, she starts off the book with a lot of PTSD and guilt because she let all those people die in the fold, and those things actually haunt her. She screams every night, she has nightmares, and throughout the book she has continuous PTSD. And because of this, she feels like she needs to save her people because she let people down there and she never wants to hurt anyone again. So she feels she needs to save her Rovkin people, and the only way to do that is to defeat the Darkling. She also, once she puts the second amplifier on, she has this immense power. And this kind of gets to her because she starts becoming hungry for even more power. And there's this feeling in every part of her body that is craving for that third amplifier and craving for more power. And this kind of starts to scare her. And there are points where she slowly is like letting herself be sucked into that power. And because of that, she also slowly starts to sympathize with the Darkling. And she starts to think that maybe he's also going through this. Maybe he is kind of like her, but then he got sucked into all of this. So it's actually a really interesting parallel, because she starts off being like, oh, the Darkling's all awful and stuff. But then once that second amplifier comes in, she realizes what that taste of power is like and how her whole being is craving more. And I thought that was a really interesting descent to read. It was really, really interesting. And I like that we got to explore this part of Alina. She really wants to be a proper leader and commander of the Second Army, but she's scared that the Grisha won't follow her because she's not the Darkling. She can't command them like the Darkling ever did. And so she also doesn't trust any of them. The only person she trusts is Mal. And for that reason, the entire book, she's more dependent on him. Anytime another Grisha does something, she appreciates it, but she still is very untrusting. And this is not a good thing if you're trying to be the commander of an army. You got to trust your army. If you don't even trust your army, like what's the point? Nothing is gonna happen. It's not gonna go well. You need to trust the people that you're training with and everything. So this part was interesting, and it was cool to see how slowly, like over time, they warmed up to her, and how slowly over time, even like within the two armies, they warmed up to each other. I thought that was fun to read. I just wish it was more looked into and not just kind of said. So yeah, that was also another really interesting about her. She also starts to feel super guilty about having Mal at Os Alta, because he's basically a glorified bodyguard for her, and like that's not what he wanted out of life. He wanted to be like an excellent tracker and everything like that. And she can tell that he is absolutely miserable in Os Alta. And it kind of makes her feel extremely guilty. Every single time she sees Mal, she feels guilty because she can't spend time with him. And she can't even like do anything in public with him because she has an image to keep up. This part was really sad because she made a statement that said it was better for her when Mal wasn't at the palace. And that kind of broke my heart, because that's when you know there's cracks in that relationship, when you start to like it when that person's not around. So that's messed up, and I felt really, really bad about that, but I also understood where she was coming from. Another thing is she already felt super lonely in Os Alta, and after her fight with Mal and when he stops talking to her, she feels even more lonely. Like this entire book is just Alina alone. Like you could rename the book that, Alina Alone. And it hurt my heart because she just starts to get more and more lonely. Every meeting she goes to, she's just kind of there to show her face and be whatever. Nobody cares about her. They just care about protecting her and following her orders, but no one cares about her. And she slowly starts to, you know, remember what the Darkling said, that no one can understand her like he can. And she starts to see him more and more often now because she is so lonely that she starts to see the Darkling, because he's the only one that can kind of bring her comfort when she's lonely. And again, that's messed up. Like, you're that lonely that you start to envision your worst enemy because you want somebody to keep you comfort. Like, messed up. And I felt so bad for her in this entire part of the book. Like, she did not deserve this. And once again, just tacking on to that last point, I felt like this book just threw so much onto her plate, and then also isolated her from the one person she loved and trusted. And it just broke my heart, because you just saw everything slowly falling apart and dissolving, and it just, man, she didn't deserve that. She had so much on her plate. She is the sun summoner. She is the leader of that army. She has to talk to Nikolai. She has to have an image, all of these things. And the one person she wants to talk to, she can't talk to him. And he's ignoring her and he's being stupid. Like, I just felt so bad for her. And then in all that isolation, once again, she starts to sympathize with the Darkling. And she's like, you know, I understand his hunger for power, his isolation, because I'm going through it too. And I'm just like, are we getting a redemption-ish story for the Darkling? Like, what's going on here? Are we supposed to feel bad for him because, like, Alina is paralleling their experiences? Because I can sympathize slightly, but he's a murderer, so not fully. I can't completely sympathize with him, but I get it. But I feel like that's what this book was kind of going for, so I thought I'd just leave that part in there too. Alina is also very, very smart, and she starts to take everything that Nikolai tells her about being a leader really, really seriously, like to the point where she knows that the only way for the Grisha to actually stand a chance is for them to like let go of their stupid hierarchy and actually become friends with one another. And she also knows that the only way to get them to trust her is if she was more trustworthy. So she starts doing things like she'll sit with them for lunch. She'll like talk to all of them like they're equals. Everyone will sit beside her on that table, not just the corporal key. Everyone will. They're all considered equals. She takes away all the separate lunch tables and puts them all into one table, which super smart. And this initially has a lot of pushback. But then later on, all of them actually start to get together. They start to trust her more because she's spending more time with them. And I just thought this was so fantastic because she knows what she has to do and she takes Nikolai's advice and she puts it into practice and she sees the results. And I thought this was so smart, like just that entire like political, like all the strings she pulled politically, even though she's a good person. She had a very political way of looking at this issue, and I absolutely loved it. It was so smart, and I loved that it did work out in her favor. And lastly, her loyalty for her people once again shows in the very end when she's willing to sacrifice her own life once again to save everybody else and to kill the Darkling. Like, she doesn't care. As long as she saves the people she loves, even if the people she loves hurt her, she's gonna do it. And I absolutely love that. She is such a good character. Like, she's so strong and brave. And she was ready to die. Oh my God. Like, Alina was so good in this book. Like, she was so good. She was done so dirty. She was so alone. And I felt so bad for her. But I really did love her. And I love seeing all her, like, inner thoughts and everything. It was so good. So now we're going to move on to the next character, who is Mal. So, Mr. Mal, I have a very, like, love-hate relationship with him, and now I understand why there's so many negative sentiments towards him, but hear me out. So Mal starts off the book as just somebody who loves Alina and he'll do anything to save her. And it even shows in the beginning of the book when there's some girl that like tries to hit on Mal, and at the same time she puts Alina down, and then Mal completely comes to her rescue and he puts that girl down and is like, no girl, Alina is my queen. And I'm like, yes, we stand a king like that. Yes, yes we do. I love that. So Mal in this book mainly experiences negative emotions, and so does Alina. Like, she experiences some jealousy and some loneliness, but Mal is really in a negative space for this entire book, and the main feelings he feels is jealousy and inadequacy. And you know, that really sucks. Like, it's a feeling that nobody wants to feel, but he's feeling that the entire time. And because he basically is, you know, isolated from Alina, he has to basically be a puppet for, you know, Nikolai, going on all these stupid trips and like, you know, trying to dazzle all those like rich noblemen. He feels like a puppet. He feels inadequate. He can't talk to Alina. He doesn't want to be just a bodyguard for her. And this isn't what he wanted out of life. And he's been experiencing this for months before he says anything. And because he's not even able to talk to the one person he loves, it gets to him. And I understand it. Like, I really understand it, because this freaking sucks. It sucks for her and it sucks for him too. And I understand it. And because of that, he slowly starts to resent Alina. He gets mad at her. He's angry at her for where he is in his life. And as much as, you know, you can be mad at him for that, his anger is totally justifiable, and I get it from his point of view. He has had enough, and he doesn't know who else to blame. The only reason he's here is for Alina. And I might not agree with it, but I totally understand it. So it really hurt to see how their relationship fell apart, because they were just such a cute couple, and like, I did not want this to happen to them. So basically, he wants everything to go back to normal. He pretty much tells Alina that he'd rather have things the way they were when they were on the run. So he'd rather be on the run with his life in danger than be safe at Salta doing his job. Let that sink in. And because he is also so isolated, he's away from the one person he loves, he starts to lash out at her, because that's the only way he can think of coping with everything he's going through. And I don't agree with it. I definitely don't agree with it, but it's understandable. It's a very human thing to feel. If he didn't feel this and he was just supportive the entire time, I would be like, this man is a saint. Like, he's a legit saint. I know she's supposed to be like a sun saint, but he's a real saint. No human person would, you know, be okay for like months and months on end, not being able to talk to the one person they love, being absolutely miserable and not lashing out. So I just thought his emotions were very, very human and very, very normal. And again, it broke my heart to see him go to that level. And it just broke my heart to like read their conversations, because she is just trying to do everything she can to protect her people. And he's just like, but I just want to be with you. Which, again, is a little annoying, because it's not about you right now, Mal. It's not. We're in the middle of a war here. Why are you like this? Like, she's not intentionally ignoring you. She's literally trying to protect the whole freaking country. And you're here like, but what about me? Like, buddy, there is a time and place for things. However, I also do think that him and Alina could have totally spent time together, like at night or whatever, or found a place to hang out. Like, they could have done it. They just chose not to. She just chose to ignore him because she felt guilty, and he felt even worse. And she chose not to tell him about seeing the Darkling, which he knew she was hiding something, and he was feeling like she's hiding all these things from her. She's not talking to me. What the hell is going on? So I get his frustration. I get it. But it breaks my heart at the same time. I get it. So then we get to the point in the book where, because he feels so inadequate, since he's not a Grisha, he actually starts to drink a lot more. He drinks a lot more, and then he starts illegally fighting Grisha in like the farm late at night. And Alina catches him doing this. And this part was like pretty cool. I was like, damn, Mal, okay, you can hold your own, okay. And he's literally trying to get stronger, because he's like, I know I'm at a disadvantage here. I'm a regular human. These are Grisha. I need to learn how to fight them. I need to learn how to be good against fighting them. So good on you, Mal. Like, really, really good on you. And I thought that scene was pretty good until he kisses Zoya. And Alina sees this, and I was just like, yeah, we'll talk more about that when I get to the OMG moments, but I wanted to put that in there. So there's a couple things that he did in this book that completely pissed me off. And again, as I said before, I understand why he is where he is, and I think it's absolutely beautiful the way that Leigh Bardugo wrote this, because she made him so human and so relatable, because this is something that will happen to anyone. And then there's this whole part where he's trying to distance himself, and he's like, yeah, I'll find third amplifier, but I don't need you there. I will do by myself. And I'm like, I get it. It hurts to be around Alina because you want to be with her, but you can't. So you're trying to distance yourself to save yourself. I get that. I totally understood that part, because you would do it as a human being. Like, if you like someone and you can't be with them and you're having a weird fight, like, you're not going to want to go on a mission together. Like, I totally understand this. So this part, again, I understood. But there are things he did that are unforgivable, in my opinion, and I'll talk about them next. Number one, him refusing to listen to Alina when she flinched, when he's trying to kiss her, because she saw the Darkling. I get it, this is a miscommunication trope, but I actually hated it. Like, dude, this is your girl. Why? Hello? She's trying to talk to you, trying to tell you what the hell happened, and you're actively not listening to her. Why? Why? Like, you look like a fool now because you're not listening to her, because she had a reason, and you look like a dumbass. And then him rebounding on Zoya so quickly, that broke my heart. I was like, I felt that pain before, you know, when you love someone and then they start to like date someone else real quick. That shit hurts so much. So I get that pain. And I felt that pain when Alina saw them. Like, my heart broke. And I was just like, unforgivable. Unforgivable. How could you do this? How could you do this to Alina? And then lastly, he does this bullshit, which made me so mad. So in the end, when Alina is like, I am going to sacrifice my life to save all you fools, Mal has the audacity to be like, you're picking him over me. Bro, are you kidding me right now? You're picking him over me. She is literally sacrificing her life for all of you guys right now. She's not picking him over you. She's literally picking your life over hers. Oh my God. I was absolutely infuriated when I read this line. How could you? How could you? I can't. Like, I understood his emotions, and then those three things that he did there, unforgivable. Unforgivable. What the hell's wrong with you? You need to grow the fuck up, fam. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? She's literally sacrificing her life. What's wrong? Now we talk about Nikolai, who was the best part of this book. Like, this man right here basically carried the entire book on his back. Every scene he was in, I was like, finally, my boyfriend's here. I was so excited. And I love him. He is so charming. He is cunning. He is smart. He is witty. He is clever. He's everything you're looking for in someone, basically. And he also has a really good heart. And you see that in the beginning, even when he's Strumhond. Like, he treats his crew really well. Like, he's not an awful human being. And what more do you want out of a guy? I absolutely loved him. The moment he was introduced in the book, I was like all for it. I'm like, new character. I already like you. Liked him as Strumhond. Liked him even more as Nikolai. So much more respect for him. His snarky one-liners literally give me life. Let that sink in. So one thing about Nikolai is that he is very, very patriotic, and he will do anything in his power to save his people. Literally, he ran away to join the military to save his people. He became a privateer to help his people. And even when they're bringing the battle to the Darkling, he joins the fabricators, designs the weapons with them because he is so smart. He can design his own weapons, and he sits there. Like, he's one of those like people that joins his men in battle. He doesn't just sit in the back and go, okay, go fight. He's in that fight. And I respect him so much for that. And he cares about his people. That's why he came back with Alina. And again, I respect him so much for that. Because he knows how useless his dad is, how stupid his brother is. And he knows that his people need him. And he comes back for them. This man's a saint. Like, make him your king already. Like, why are you not? Another really cool thing about Nikolai is that basically he's like a chameleon. He can literally fit in to any group he's a part of. Like, if he's with his like army mates, he is one way. If he's with the royal family, he's a different way. If he's with Alina, he's a different way. Whoever he meets, he knows how to adapt to that situation and knows how to behave in that situation. Like, that is something that I was like, okay, this is interesting. But then who are you? Like, I want to know who you are, because you could be any of these people or all of them combined, but we don't know who you are. This is just a mask you're putting on yourself because you're so damn good at it. And this is really cool because he only ever has these like real moments with Alina. Like, she'll say something and he'll genuinely like get tongue-tied and he wouldn't know what to say. And he just goes, yeah, I guess, or he doesn't know how to respond. And those moments are what got me, because this man has to respond to everything. He is so snarky. As I said, his witty lines give me life. But she'll say certain things to him, and he's just like, what? And I absolutely love it. This is so good. I loved their relationship together. It was such a good part of the book. And I love that he can be more himself around her, and he doesn't have to like pretend to be any of these like different faces that he puts on for everyone else. Another thing about Nikolai is that he is super flirty. Ladies, take note. Man is super flirty. And what he does is he's super flirty with Alina, and because of this, he goads Mal into fights, which, I'm not gonna lie, it was actually kind of funny. Like, Mal has no chill at all. He doesn't have any chill. And every single time Nikolai goads him into a fight, Mal totally falls for it and goes for it. And I'm just like, oh my god, Mal, like, calm down. Like, calm down. A thing he does do in the beginning of the book that I was like, hey, that's not okay, is he kisses Alina without her consent in front of a group of people, which I was like, that is assault. You do not kiss someone without their permission. You do not assault them like that. She does kick him right after this, which I'm like, thank you. And it's a good thing because later on in the book, he actually asks to kiss her. And you can see how that's come full circle. He now knows I cannot just assault women. I've got to get their permission to kiss them. So I liked that he grew from that experience. But let it be known that that's not okay. Another really interesting thing about him is that he's able to keep his calm and cool and collected self, even in the most dire of situations. And it's something that Alina notices him in a lot, where things will just come up and he is able to be like, oh yeah, totally, deal with it, whatever. Which is why in the very end, when Vasily makes this dumbass move, you genuinely see Nikolai scared and like not calm and collected for the first time. And that gets to you because you're like, oh my god, something's about to go down. This man is not calm and collected. Why is this man, who's literally ice in my veins kind of guy, so like frazzled right now? What's going on? Something definitely bad is going to happen. So it's something that I really liked how Leigh Bardugo put in the entire book, only to have him like be out of character in that one moment, and that genuinely scares you because you're like, what? Why are you not calm? What's going on? And I thought this was fantastic. Really well done. Another thing about Nikolai is that he is a natural born leader. And because of this, he knows how to lead. So he actually helps Alina out. He tells her all the things she needs to do in order to bring the Grisha in line and actually follow her and actually see her as their leader. And I thought this was so smart. Like, once again, he is smart in so many different ways. And especially this one, like the way that he can politically manipulate situations, because this man loves a show, okay? Like, if anything happens, it needs to be a production for him because he understands how important appearances are. And so I love that he's so smart and political, and because he knows how important appearances are, he knows exactly what pieces to put, what strings to pull in order to make things work out for him. Like, he's so smart. Such a smart guy. Lastly, he's also probably a bastard son, and that is something that his brother, as well as a lot of the other, like, you know, royal people kind of use against him, being like, you're probably a bastard son. And he also kind of knows this. He feels like, yeah, I probably am, but he doesn't let that affect him in front of everyone. It totally affects him when he's like not in front of anyone else. He's still like, yeah, I could be a bastard son, but I'm still the second prince and I still have my right to that throne. And I'm like, let's go. And he still wants to protect his people, even though his people kind of see him as that bastard son. He's still like, no, I am the best leader you're gonna have because my dad sucks and my brother sucks and our country is like in shambles right now. We need to get things together. And he is the best leader you can have. Oh my god, like, he is the best leader you can have. So all in all, as you can tell with my animated expressions, I love Nikolai. I really do. And I know recently, like, his duology just came to an end with King of Scars. And I will be reading that because he is clearly my favorite character right now in the book. Though I do really like Alina too. I just really liked him. And he's my boyfriend now. He's my new book boyfriend. So yeah, that's the end of this character segment. Now we're gonna move on to the big OMG moments. So the first OMG moment I had was when the Darkling literally captures Alina and Mal in the first chapter. I was like, wait, I thought they were gonna be on the run for a little longer. Like, I didn't think they get captured that soon. Like, are you guys that dumb? And I didn't know what was gonna happen next. I was like, okay, well, I guess they're captured. Oh, all right, this is where we're going now. And then hand in hand, the next moment when he shows that he can produce these weird like shadow monsters, that was creepy. That was really creepy. All of his own Grisha are terrified of that. And I was like, this is weird. This is really weird. Okay. And that was kind of scary. And then when he said there's a second amplifier, I was like, what? Hold the front door. There's a second one. And then it's revealed there's 3 amplifiers. And you're like, what the what now? What? That completely like took me by surprise. I did not think there was going to be a second and a third amplifier. I thought the stag was it, and I was like, okay, all right, the story is now going in a different direction than I ever thought it was gonna go. And then the next moment when Strumhond makes a revolt and goes against the Darkling, and he has his own group of Grisha that are part of his like crew, I was like, what is happening right now? Who is this man? He has Grisha with him. He's fighting the Darkling. He's taking Alina and Mal. Are they safe with him? He's also taking the Sea Whip. What's going on? Apparently you're not supposed to trust this guy. That entire scene, I was so confused. I was like, so much is happening right now. It's really cool, but I don't know what's going on here. And I don't know who this guy is. How does he have this many Grisha with him? And how are they following him? Who knows? Next moment is when he has the hummingbird and it starts to fly. I was like, damn, this man really pushes his inventions and really pushes what people know in that world. And he uses both like machines and Grisha together in order to make that happen, because the Grisha are what's making it float, but he's using his like designs and the weapons and everything. I thought that was so cool how the combination of them creates this even better like weapon slash like thing to travel over the fold. That was really interesting. I thought it was so cool. And then in the Shadowfold, when Alina feels super guilty about killing the Volcra, and then she sees the Darkling, I was like, is he there? Can he teleport? Like, what is happening? What the hell? And then it's revealed that no one else saw him. So I'm like, is he only appearing to her somehow? Like, how is this working? So that was something that I was like, all right, this is an interesting one. It's a weird moment, but it is interesting. I will keep it in my head for the future. In the next moments, these kind of go hand in hand. When you realize that Strumhond is actually Nikolai, and he tells everyone that he's bought the Sun Summoner with him, and then Alina gets so mad at him that she punches him in the face. I was like, what? Do you realize that you punched a prince in the face? But I get it. He's trying to go ahead and be like, oh yeah, I captured the Sun Summoner. Like, totally understand. Why would you say that? Like, why would you say that? And he also says something really important. He says that he disguised himself because apparently he thought the Darkling would recognize him because he worked with the Darkling when he was 14 or something. So maybe we'll get more of that in the next books, because it was just kind of briefly mentioned that he saw him when he was 14. Then the next moment when Nikolai says he wants to marry Alina and bring her back to Osalta, and she's like, haha, no, I'll come back with you, but I'm not going to marry you. What I will do though is take control of that second army. And I was like, you go, girl. That's smart. Why would you marry him? You don't even know him. Yeah, he's hot, but you don't know him, and he just assaulted you like a couple days ago. So yeah, I totally understand why she didn't want to marry him. And then when she tries to get all the Grisha to follow her, and the first person to say they're going to follow her is Zoya. I was confused as hell because she was so rude to Alina in the last book that I was like, is this girl really real, or is she playing at something? Does she have something up her sleeve? Not gonna lie, at the time I totally did think she had something up her sleeve and that she wasn't really being truthful. And then this moment when Alina is about to end Sergei's life and last minute is like, oh shit, I'm actually about to murder someone, and then she uses that energy to break the ceiling. I was like, Alina, you need to take a little chill pill here. Like, the power is really going to your head right now. Like, y'all need to chill. Like, yeah, he disagreed with you, but that doesn't mean you need to kill him. But I am glad that you realized last minute what you were doing and you didn't go through with it. Like, I was actually kind of scared she was going to initially and be like, that's how I establish my authority. I'm going to kill someone in front of you so you follow me. Like, you're not trying to be another Darkling, Alina. You're trying to be a sun summoner, a sun leader, not a dark leader. Remember that. Then this scene, when she goes to see Baghra and sees that the Darkling has taken her eyes, I was like, oh my god. And then Baghra is mad at her for getting the second amplifier, and she tells her not to go looking for the third one. And Alina obviously is like, I'm gonna ignore this. The next moment is when you find out that the Darkling is actually using Merzost magic, which is abomination magic, and that's how he's creating those like shadow monsters. And that's how Morozova created the 3 original amplifiers. He used that abomination magic. And apparently Morozova has journals, and the Black Heretic tried to recreate some of his experiments, and that's how the Shadowfold was created. And so the Darkling after him destroyed all of his journals, and ever since has been trying to close the Shadowfold. But remember, the Black Heretic is the Darkling, and he made the story up, so everyone thinks he's a good guy trying to like close the Shadowfold, but he's not trying to do that. So I thought that was really interesting, that it was that caused the entire Shadowfold to come into existence. This particular one, I was like, this is weird, because they say that they don't know what's going to happen to those like shadow monsters if they kill the Darkling, but they're gonna kill him anyway. And I'm like, okay, hello, first of all, you should know what happens, okay? What if it creates another Shadowfold? What if they make him invincible? What if something really catastrophic happens? If he's dead and those things are still around? Like, hello? This is a bad thing. You should know before you do this. So I didn't like that little statement that they threw in there, because I was like, this is not a good idea. I don't know what's going to happen now. Probably something really bad if the Darkling's going to die. Like, these can turn into like huge monsters that ravage the earth. We don't know. We don't know. The next moment, this one's a little bittersweet. It's when Zoya tells Alina that she's ready to join her and take down the Darkling, because her family actually was in the village that was destroyed by the Shadowfold when the Darkling expanded the Shadowfold. And this I felt kind of bad for. I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense now why you're all of a sudden like, okay, yeah, I'm going to join you. And it's kind of sad because Alina still doesn't really trust her here. And she's still like, I think she's planning something. But I kind of just felt like it was genuine. And I was like, okay, this feels more genuine. It doesn't feel like she'd be making this up. And I definitely did trust her in this moment. And then when the Apparat just appears to Alina and he tells her that she isn't strong enough to take down the Darkling, and then she like tries to like end him then and there. She like threatens him, and I was like, okay, this power is going to your head now. You are making these active scary threats, alrighty. And then he also hints that he has Morozova's journals, and I was like, okay, this is going to a lot of different places now. First of all, he showed up. Second of all, he's telling her she's not strong enough. Third of all, she's threatening him. And fourth of all, now these journals are not burnt anymore. They actually exist. Okay, interesting. And he has them. So this part, I was like, okay, we got some good information here. And then this moment right here, when Mal tries to kiss Alina, and she flinches because she sees the Darkling behind him. And he takes it as, okay, I guess you don't want me anymore, and just walks away. And she tries so hard to tell him what happened and what's going on. And this man right here doesn't want to hear it. And I was like, I hate this. I hate this so much. I hate the miscommunication trope. It bothers me so much. Like, to me, it's kind of just lazy writing. And this bothered me so much. It was so stupid, so unnecessary, and I was so mad. This entire time, I was like, okay, come on, like, please just hear her out. Oh my goodness. And then obviously this goes hand in hand with when he's fighting that squalor and she sees it, and then he kisses Zoya. I was like, no, this hurt me too. And then that scene where Vasily announces that he's made this deal with the Faradins and stuff. And at this point, Nikolai is like not calm anymore. And he's like, what did you do? And basically, he has made Assalta now super weak against an attack from the Darkling, and as this conversation's happening, they get attacked by shadow monsters. And then one of the shadow monsters kills Prince Vasily, and I was like, thank God, you were useless, goodbye. And this entire battle was so nerve-wracking, and I was like, oh my God, everything is going wrong. You guys are so well prepared. I was not okay reading this entire part. And then obviously when Alina realizes that she has a connection with the Darkling, and she realizes she can exploit and use this against him to kill him, in turn sacrificing herself but also killing him, I was like, I am so proud of you, Alina. You are such a good person. I can't believe you are this smart and also this good of a person. This really got to me. When Talia and Tamar were revealed to be part of the Apparat side, and I was like, what? I thought I could trust you. You were on his side. I don't trust him. That really threw me for a loop. And then obviously the very, very ending when she says she doesn't have her powers anymore. I was like, this is not a good time to not have your powers anymore, fam. The Darkling is still alive. You need your powers. The Shadowfold is still alive. Like, what's gonna happen now? And those were the moments that were super OMG moments for me. So now I'm gonna go to like some questions that I still need answered. And the first one is still one I had in my previous video. Why is Mal such a good tracker? Like, he seems unnaturally good and unnaturally gifted at this, and they keep hinting at it. So I'm like, why? Is there a reason? What's the reason? I want to know. And I hope we find out in the next book. And it's not just he's just a really good tracker. Like, if you've made it a point to make it this obvious that he's unnaturally good, there better be a reason why. Number 2, what other powers does the Darkling have? Because we see that he created the Shadowfold. We see that he has these shadow monsters. And after that intense, like, thing where she pulled out all those monsters out of him, probably drained him, but it might have given him some new powers. So I'm excited to see if he has any new powers in the next book. This one was a weird gray area. So I noticed this, and I took notice of this, is when the Sea Whip was killed, Alina and Mal killed it together. And the way the lore of this world works is whoever kills the amplifier is the one that can take its power or like put the power on someone else or whatever. So Alina had to be the one to kill the Sea Whip. But Mal does it with her, so I was like, okay, does he get any powers now? Like, does this affect him in some way? Does it? I want to know. Number 4, will Alina get her powers back? So she probably will. Like, I don't think I see her fighting without her powers. I feel like she'll probably get them back. Maybe they'll be stronger or different. We don't know. But I definitely do want to know if she gets her powers back. Number 5, is Nikolai alive? Okay, so since, you know, there are series after this with him in it, he's probably alive. But that is still a question that we need answered in the next book. Number 6, so we need to know if the Apparat is good. And hopefully we find that out in the next book. Number 7, so will they catch the 3rd amplifier, which is the Firebird? And if they do, how will that change Alina? Because getting the 2nd one completely started to change her. So I'm interested to see if they do get the 3rd one, how that changes her. Number 8, is someone gonna die? I'm actually scared that someone's gonna die in the next book. I feel it. I feel like people will. And yeah, that's one of the things I'm sad for, but it's one of the things I'm kind of expecting, and it's one of the questions I have. Number 9, why did the Darkling do that to Genya? Like, they genuinely were like kind of good friends-ish. And how is this going to affect her in the next book? It's something I genuinely want to know. Number 9, so are Alina and Mal still endgame? Because even though a lot of stuff happened between them in the last book, she still cared about him. Like, she was so willing to sacrifice her life for him, and he still cared about her. So are they still endgame? I want to know. Number 11, why did Alina feel a connection to the Volcra? Is it because of her own guilt? Is it because of her connection to the Darkling and in turn the connection to the Shadowfold? I hope that's explored because they really talked about how she felt connected to them and felt their pain. So I hope that's more touched on in the next book. Now we'll get to my predictions for the next book. So number one, I think Alina's gonna get her powers back. I hope it's in a really cool way. It might be like if she gets like the third amplifier, maybe that brings her power back or something. I hope it's in a really cool way. So I think that she will get it back, but I feel like she'll have to like work for it a little bit. I don't think it'll be just kind of given to her. And I think it may be with this third amplifier, if they find it, it might like bring her power back. So that's my prediction. So my next prediction is I think someone's gonna die, and I think it might be Alina. And that will officially make her like a saint because she did end up dying. So as much as I really like her, there's a part of me that thinks she might die in the next book. I also don't think the Apparat is good. I feel like he's just another like evil, and he doesn't really care about her. He's just kind of using her for his own gains and for his own purposes. And I feel like he started that entire cult so that he could also have his own power and be his own leader. So I don't know if I really trust the Apparat either. Next, I don't think Alina and Mal are endgame, and this kind of hurts me because I really did like them, and it really hurt me to see all the stuff they went through in this book. But in the next one, there's a part of me that thinks that there's just not endgame and they're not going to end up together. And that does make me sad because I did want her to get, you know, the guy in the end. So, yeah. The next one, pretty obvious. Even though we don't know if Nikolai's alive yet, I think he's going to be alive in the next book. Again, I know this because I know there's other books about him that just came out, and so he has to be alive. Unless they're set in a different timeline, then I could totally be wrong. But I think they can't kill him off. Like, he was too good of a character to kill off. So I think Nikolai's alive. I hope we have more Alina and Nikolai scenes because they just have a genuine friendship and chemistry. And every scene they were in together, like, I absolutely loved it. So I hope we get more of those scenes. My next prediction is everyone and their mother seems to love the Darkling. Like, I see the Darkling everywhere and Mal hated everywhere. So because of this, there's a part of me that thinks he might get a redemption arc in like the last book. So that's my prediction. Like, he's gonna get a somewhat of a redemption arc. We're supposed to feel sad for him and we'll start to like him at the very end. And that's what I think is gonna happen. This is another prediction of mine. I feel like maybe Bagra might come around in the end and help train Alina again, and maybe that can help her get her powers back. Like, she'll be able to like see within herself again and really get her powers back. Maybe that's another way she could get it back. And the last one, I think the Shadow Fold will be destroyed. I think some way, somehow, they'll find a way to destroy it. Even if it's not Alina, I think they're going to do it. And those end my predictions for the next book. So now let's go to the things I liked about the book. Number one, Nikolai Lantsov. What more do I have to say? He was great, my favorite character, the best person to read about on the page. Like, I loved it. I loved him so much, and I'm so excited to see him in the next book. Hopefully he's going to be in the next book. I also liked seeing the slow change in Alina when she did get the second amplifier, because she was slowly starting to descend into that power hungriness, and because of that she was starting to really empathize with the Darkling, and it was a very stark contrast to see, because in the first book, like, she likes him and then she doesn't really like him. She starts the second book not really liking him. And then because she has this whole internal like struggle with the power that she holds, she starts to understand him. And I just thought that was a really interesting thing to explore. Next thing I really liked was the final battle. I thought the final battle was so well written. And again, my heart was in my throat the entire time. I was at the edge of my seat because, as I said, everything was going wrong. And I was like, so many people are dying. Like, what's gonna happen? It was so well written, and it was so good. I thought that final battle was chef's kiss. I also really like getting the backstory of Morozova because it really helped like expand this world, because we get like a history lesson about it. I thought that was really, really cool, and it really helped like develop more layers and like really, you know, expand the world more. I loved it. I love getting more history lessons like that. And so I hope we get a couple more in the next book, because that would be so interesting. And the last thing I really liked about this book is how political it was, because they didn't just make, you know, rash decisions and things worked out. They were very strategic with what they wanted to do. And they put certain pieces into place. And I loved how that really did help them out. And it was just so smart. It was smart how everything was put into play. And I really liked that political part of this entire book. I thought it was really well done. Here are some things I didn't like in the book. First off, the pacing was just off. Like, the first 3 chapters are good, the middle section is boring, and the last couple of chapters are really good. And good in the sense that, like, they're really fast, then super slow paced, then super fast again. And it's kind of not the pacing I prefer. I prefer to have like a consistent pacing throughout the entire book because it's easier to read and you want to keep reading. Whereas this one, like, I still wanted to keep reading, but my interest wasn't just always there. So I felt like the pacing was really like kind of off here. Number 2, I wish we really got to see the Grisha warming up to Alina and each other more, because we kind of just hear about it from Alina, and like time passes by really weird in this book. And initially they hate her, then they like her, and then they really like her, and they all get together. And I'm like, well, I don't like that. I want to see it. I want to see them first hate her and then slowly get together and then more and more and more. Like, I want to see that progression. And I was sad we didn't see it. I was sad we just kind of heard about it from like Alina's head. Oh, everything's good now. And I was like, I wish I could have seen it, because I'll take your word for it, but I wish I could have seen that progression. And this scene, I just don't think it aged really well, but like when they go to the fortune teller and she tells those girls that they're gonna marry ugly fat men, I was like, oh, that's kind of insensitive, especially in like this day and age. Like, you know, we don't fat shame people, we don't call them ugly because they're fat. Like, that entire just line dialogue, I was like, oh, this needs to be edited for like people that buy this nowadays, because this is not okay. You could have just said, oh, you're gonna marry men you're not attracted to. You didn't have to include that they were ugly and fat. Like, that's pretty rude. So yeah, those 3 things wasn't a huge fan of. I was also really sad with what happened with Alina and Mal, but I did think that it is what happens to couples. Like, when you can't spend time together, you drift apart. And when you can't spend time together, you do start to resent each other and you do start to take it out on each other, and it's what happens. So as much as I get it, it did hurt me. And then now I'm just going to go into my final thoughts of the book. So final thoughts, I did think it was a pretty solid second book. As I said, generally didn't know where the hell the story was going to go. And I also don't know where the hell the story is going to go in the future, because she doesn't have her powers and she's in this underground like place with the apparat. So I have no idea what's going to happen next. And so I thought this was, as I said, a pretty solid second book. The plot was pretty good, even though the middle section like lacked a bit of action. I thought it was still really political and smart. The character introduction of Nikolai was perfect. I thought he was great. The slowly drifting apart of like Alina and Mal was also really well written and really humanly written, and so I thought that was also really, really well done. The final battle was good, and overall it was good. I really did enjoy this book. I would recommend it to all of you guys. I know the Shadow and Bone is coming out on Netflix, so everyone's super excited for it. I think personally I'm gonna wait to read all of Shadow and Bone and the Six of Crows, just because I do know that some of the Six of Crows characters are in that show and I don't want anything spoiled for me. So I'm gonna read the books and then watch the show and then give my thoughts on both of them. And all in all, I would give this book like a solid 4 out of 5. I thought it was pretty good. It did have some things I didn't really like, so that's what I'm gonna dock off. So that is the end of the video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this huge and thorough review of Siege and Storm. I will be posting another review for Ruin and Rising soon once I get that read. And if you haven't seen my Shadow and Bone one, it is on my channel. If you did like this video, a thumbs up would be much appreciated. If you like this kind of video and this kind of content, I also have other reviews on my channel, as well well as subscription box unboxing. So if that's something you're into, you can definitely go check those out. I also would appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my channel, as it would help me out. And with that being said, I hope you are all having a great day, and I hope you're all staying safe. Bye for now.